Now it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce a good friend of mine who I'm sure all of you know from New York sports world, ABC and CBS, and now he's with Imus in the Morning for a number of years. He's not only a sports legend, but he's a great guy and a dear friend, and he's going to talk a little bit about Joe DiMaggio. So here's Warner Wolf.
I am standing. Thank you, Angelo.
You're welcome.
I will say this about Angelo Vivolo. Without question, the most honest, trustworthy, generous person I know. That's it. That's all there is to it. So, when Angelo said, would you talk at the Columbus Club, we're going to honor Joe DiMaggio? Sure. And then I thought about something. I'd interviewed Joe DiMaggio back in 1980, 34 years ago. He was 66. And it was one of the rare times that he actually sat down and did an extended interview. So I said, you know what, I could talk about him, but maybe the people would rather actually see him. So that's what we have. He talks for 13 minutes and 50 seconds. I asked him every question I could think of. I hope you enjoy it. There aren't many laughs. I can tell you there's no jokes. You know, I mean, you had to really ask a question that was going to interest him. And I think he wanted to see if you did your homework, which was really a prerequisite. I will tell you the first time somebody, a gentleman there said, did you ever see him play? I did see him play. And the first time I saw him play, I was 13 years old. And my father, actually I was 12, not 13 yet. My father took me to old Griffith Stadium. That was a ballpark in Washington, D.C. And he said, son, you're going to see this player tonight, plays for the Yankees. His name is Joe DiMaggio. I wasn't a big baseball fan then. I was a boxing fan. Anyway, I have to tell you something about Griffith Stadium. The dimensions were 410 to left field and 421 to left center, where DiMaggio hit the ball, Death Valley. He was the only man ever to hit this night 3 home runs in one game at Griffith Stadium until they changed the dimensions. And that was the night. And I can still picture him coming around the bases with a poker face. That's what I see. His head down, he didn't stand at home plate and watch the ball go or anything like that. He hit his 3 home runs and that was it. So, come on in. What is that? Was that a relief pitcher? Diego Segui's coming in the pitcher. Anyway, what's that? Anyway, I did ask him later, this is years later, I was thinking about the dimensions at Yankee Stadium, where it's 399 to left center, and when he played it was 457. So I wondered how many more home runs would he have hit had he played today at Yankee Stadium. So I did a little math, 77 games a year in those days when he played home games. And he played 13 years, 3 years out for the service. There was 1 year, 1949, when he could only play half the year. So I added it up, and it was about 1,000 home games he played at Yankee Stadium when it was 457 in left center field. So I was thinking, how many balls did he hit that were caught that would have been home runs? So I made a mistake. I said, Joe, do you think you would have had 100 more home runs? He looked at me and said, at least. But he said, you know what? the show, as the gentleman he was, he said Greenberg and Fox also would have had the home runs. So anyway, I figured it out. If he hit a home run every 3 games, 1 home run every 3 games, is that a fair, educated guess? Let's say he did. 4 times at bat, maybe 5, but he probably walked. So I figured out that he would have hit 333 more home runs. So he had 361, he would have had close to 700 home runs. And that's timeout for the music commercial, which we can bring in.
Right on cue.
So before, I just want to say that one thing about the interview that's coming up. I had never met Joe DiMaggio before, and I was in awe. And I'm ready to do the interview, and all of a sudden, before the camera rolls, his PR man comes over to me and whispers in my ear, "If you ask a question about Marilyn Monroe, the interview is over." I wasn't going to ask him a question. Anyway, here it is. I hope you enjoy it. Joe was 66 years old at this point, 1980. So let's go to the videotape here.